So we believe that the King James Bible is the Word of God. Because if you don't believe every word in the King James Bible is perfect, how do you not know what it says is going to teach you the right doctrine? See? So all our right doctrines comes from God's words, right? So if God's words have mistakes, how do you know what it's teaching you is the right thing? So that's why we believe and demand a perfect Bible. Now, one of the reasons why we select the King James Bible is because of the manuscript evidence. So this is going to be very important. So a lot of people, they'll think, okay, so you're picking and choosing, so why is it the King James Bible? What makes it very special? The reason why is because the immensity of manuscript evidence. Manuscript evidence. So we're going to go through that. So by choosing which line of manuscript has the best evidence, that's why we select the King James Bible. Now, in manuscript evidence, I'm going to give you these different manuscript main groups, all right, these main names. There are 4 different main groups, but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to make it a little bit more simplified. So this one you can still find at the Nestle and Allen text, all right? So I don't know if I'm going to draw this accurately, but I'll try. So this symbol right here is what they call majority text. That's where our King James Bible came from. Why? Because this is the majority of manuscripts. See that? So it just makes sense. The more manuscripts you have to build up your evidence, you know, that should be the Bible you should select, right? That just makes sense. So because this is the majority of manuscripts as evidence, the King James Bible came from that. So because of that, that's why we select the KJV, the King James Bible. Now here are the other manuscripts that modern Bibles usually go by. This one is Sinaiticus. Sinaiticus. So you'll hear these 2 names quite often. Sinaiticus and Vaticanus, or Vaticanus, however way you want to pronounce it. So Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, these are the 2 main manuscripts where modern Bibles come from. But see, they're not the majority text. I'm going to show you how much of the evidence of the manuscripts is in these, all right? It's very small. Another one is Bezae. Another one is Papyrus 75. Papyrus are known to be the oldest manuscripts, okay? The oldest manuscripts. Because I don't know if you remember some historical facts, but the papyrus, they're like ancient paper from Egypt, and they last pretty long. So because of that, that's why there were Bible manuscripts written in papyrus material. Okay, so these are the 5 manuscripts. Now here's something important to understand. So the KJV came from these texts. The modern Bibles, they come more from these manuscripts. That's where modern Bibles mostly come from. And then the KJV, it mostly comes from here, the majority text. All right, so I'm going to tell you the number of evidence. So Dean Bergen, he's a famous scholar from Oxford, and he's the Dean of Chichester. All right. Now, this guy lived at the days of Westcott and Hort, who published the first modern Bible. Okay, so that'll be interesting. So this guy was there when the first modern Bible came out. All right. But when that first modern Bible came out, Dean Bergen, he criticized about the manuscripts that the first modern Bible came out of. He says this, quote, all 4, he's talking about these 4, where the modern Bibles come from. He quotes, all 4 are discovered on careful scrutiny to differ essentially. How much? So this is the evidence. Not only from the 99 out of the 100. That's how big. 99 out of 100 of the whole body of extant manuscripts, but even from each other. End of quote. That's found in the Revision Revised. Dean Bergen's the author, page 12. So I don't know if you heard that. So basically this is the evidence. And then right here is what? According to Dean Bergen. See that? Okay, so why not choose this one? You see that? Why not choose this one? Why do you have to choose this one? You know why? Well, before I explain why, let me explain even more. So, a lot of scholars, they'll try to make it sound like the KJV does not come from the majority of the manuscripts, and they'll claim, oh, we got more manuscripts today than before, and blah, 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 blah. But you know, those critics, they can't deny this. Here are the critics of the KJV, okay? This is from the Nestle-Aland text, all right? The Nestle-Aland text is the standard, the authority that all manuscript scholars go by, okay? The Nestle-Aland, all right? Everyone respects it, they recognize it. Because Nestle-Aland 28th edition, it lists all kinds of manuscripts in every verse at the bottom. So that one's like a recognized textbook for manuscript scholars. So those guys do not believe the KJV, all right? So you know what even those guys admitted about this one? You know what they admitted about this one? They called it, quote unquote, the majority of all manuscripts. Another one of their quotes, readings supported by the majority of all manuscripts. And several times they called it majority, see, text. See that? Even they recognize that. Even they recognize KJV comes from that. That's why they call it that. So this is found at Novum Testamentum Grace, 27th edition. You can find it on page 51, 55, 46 as well. All right, now here's the problem, all right? They'll say this. The reason why we go by these manuscripts, not by this, is because these are ancient manuscripts, all right? That's what they'll say. These are ancient manuscripts. So because these things are older, that's why we go by this 1%, we go by this. We don't go by this because this came out much later. Well, here's our problem, all right? The problem is that the KJV, which came from a line, the traditional text, which is right here, the KJV that came out of that line, there are other manuscripts that also show from the traditional text that the KJV came out of. And these dates are actually pretty ancient, all right? So let me erase this part. Here's some examples. So to say the KJV came from late manuscripts is a lie, because I'm going to give you a list of some family manuscripts that are ancient. The Syriac Peshitta. You know what century that was? I'll tell you when. 2nd century. See that? That's old. Here's another one. Vetus Latina. That is dated to 2nd to 3rd centuries. Here's another one. Vetus Syra. Dated 2nd to 4th. Another one is Magdalene Papyrus. So it's the papyrus, see, which are known to be one of the most ancient manuscripts. There's a reading in Magdalene Papyrus that actually supports the traditional text that the KJV came out of and actually contradict the other modern Bibles. The Magdalene Papyrus is actually so ancient. 1st to 2nd centuries they dated. Another one is the Church Fathers. So even if the manuscripts don't have it, you got the writings of the Church Fathers who will quote verses that are similar with the KJV. So the Church Fathers are evidence too. These guys range from 1st to 5th centuries. So all the way from 1st all the way to 5th. Not only that, this is not the only one. There are also other papyri manuscripts. Believe it or not. There are other papyri manuscripts. And papyri manuscripts, they're very ancient. They're considered the most ancient. Or one of the most. So you see, that's a lie that KJV came from late manuscripts. Because you got these manuscripts here that support the KJV. In fact, when there's a reading where in 1 John 5:7, where the KJV was not supported by the Greek manuscripts, because New Testament was originally written in Greek, they said, oh, so see right here, 1 John 5:7, it's not found at the Greek manuscripts, but guess what? They found it in one of the old Latin manuscripts. See that? So here's the idea. The idea is this. The KJV, all of its verses are going to come from the majority text. And then the remainder, 1% or whatever, how much percentage is left over, is going to be supported by these ancient manuscripts. And these are just some. There's more other manuscripts I did not list. So you see that? That's why the evidence, if you're going to pick which Bible, what do you think is going to be the best book out of all the other books? It's this one, in manuscript evidence. So this is talking about manuscript evidence. Why? See, that's why we select this.